Alright, we're switching things up. Usually I put out race reviews the day after a Grand Prix, but I've always wanted to get them out faster, ideally just hours after lights out. So here's the plan. A more streamlined format, still breaking down every driver's performance, but using a tiered system to keep it punchy and to the point. We're talking S, A, B, C, D, and F. Simple to follow, quick to process, and still full of context. So, if you're watching this just hours after the race ended, welcome to the new era of instant driver ratings. We'll start by quickly recapping the tiers. S tier is for near-perfect weekends, flawless execution, or something legendary. A tier is excellent, maximizing performance, even if it wasn't dominant. B means solid, clean work, nothing flashy, no big mistakes. C is for mixed bags. Okay pace, but not much impact. D for drivers who underperformed or made notable errors. And F, that's reserved for weekends where it all went horribly wrong. Now, onto the race weekend. Lando Norris. A tier. After a dominant outing in Austria, Lando came into his home Grand Prix riding a wave of confidence. That was clear from the get-go. His comfort in the McLaren, especially post-suspension update in Canada, was obvious all weekend. Topping FP2, showing strong long-run pace and looking like a genuine threat. Qualifying in P3 was decent, though he'll be kicking himself for the error at the Vale chicane, which likely cost him a shot at the front row. Funny enough, both he and Piastri made similar mistakes at the exact same spot. Must be something in the air after the Lando grandstand. In the race, he wasn't immediately as quick as Verstappen or Piastri, but things flipped with the safety car. Oscar's 10-second penalty for erratic driving changed everything, and Lando played it perfectly. He stayed within range, avoided trouble, and executed exactly what was needed. It wasn't an S-tier masterpiece, but it was a composed, opportunistic drive that delivered under pressure. An easy A Oscar Piastri. A tier Oscar arrived at Silverstone determined to bounce back after Spain, and early signs were good. Smooth sailing through practice and serious pace in qualifying. Honestly, he looked like a pole contender right up until that final corner in Q3, where a snap of oversteer cost him dearly. Still, his race start was electric. He cleared Max with confidence and began pulling away. Then came the safety car and that penalty. 10 seconds for braking harder than expected while leading the pack. Harsh? Maybe, but it's true he didn't need to take that risk. He was in clean air, had control, and just lacked patience in the moment. Comparisons with Russell's similar incident in Canada made headlines, but the data doesn't lie. Oscar's braking pressure was significantly higher. That said, he still salvaged a strong result and showed tremendous pace across the weekend. Like Lando, he lands in the A tier. Superb pace, but a small error with big consequences. Lewis Hamilton, B tier. It's been a tough stretch for Lewis recently, adjusting to life in red, but this was the best he's looked all year. Right from FP1, he was on fire, topping the session and staying in the top 3 consistently. The home crowd buzzed with hope. But this is Ferrari we're talking about. Disaster is always lurking. In Q1, they nearly messed it up by underfueling the car, somehow escaping a complete meltdown. Then in Q3, Lewis was on a monster lap. Fastest in Sector 1, a 10th up in Sector 2, and then grass. Whether it was nerves or just misjudgment, that small error dropped him from pole potential to P5. It was a promising weekend that didn't quite convert into a top-tier result. The speed was there, but the execution wavered at key moments. So he lands in the B tier, a good showing, but not the complete package. In the race, Lewis was nothing short of electric. Yes, Ferrari let him down, again, by calling him in one lap too late when the rain hit hardest. That one decision cost him key track position, dropping him behind the likes of Gasly, Hülkenberg and Stroll. That's where the podium chances really slipped through their fingers. But forget the strategy for a moment. Lewis drove like a man possessed. He was pushing the limits on slicks in the wet, going off a few times while chasing down Nico, but he was so entertaining to watch. That double overtake on Russell and Ocon? Unreal. The move on Gasly? Filthy. It's a shame the podium didn't come together, but you can feel it building. Slowly but surely, he's dialing himself into the Ferrari. All things considered, Lewis put in a fantastic drive across the whole weekend. It wasn't perfect, but the raw pace and aggression were on full display. For that, he earns a strong A tier. Charles Leclerc. D tier. Charles has been in fine form lately, 3 podiums in 4 races, and looked hungry for that first win of the season. He even topped final practice and was looking sharp heading into qualifying. But like so many others, he fumbled it in the final corner of Q3. And if the radio screen was any indication, it hit hard. Then came Ferrari's strategy roulette. They gambled on slicks just before the start. Big risk, zero reward. Charles spent the race trying to claw his way through traffic, but his own mistakes kept getting in the way. He went off multiple times, couldn't handle the changing conditions, and was nowhere near the comfort level of Hamilton. Finishing 14th with 5 retirements ahead of you? Yeah, that's brutal. The pace was there in theory, but the execution fell apart. Sadly, it's a D tier for Charles because we know how much better he can be. Max Verstappen, a tier max, was the centre of attention all weekend, mostly for his off-track saga, with journalists hounding him on Thursday. But once the sessions began, it was classic Red Bull sandbagging on Friday, as usual. Different setups, minimal pace until they flipped the switch overnight. With upgrades dialed in and the car in a better window by FP3, Max kept the Monza spec wing, prioritising straight-line speed at the expense of corner grip. It made qualifying tricky, but of course he nailed it. When everyone else cracked under pressure in the final corner of Q3, Max held his nerve. That's why he's the best, always clinical when it counts. The race, though, not as smooth. That lower downforce setup caught him out exiting Stowe. And while Oscar's moment in front of him might have added pressure, the mistake was still his. To his credit, he recovered well to P5, and paired with that insane qualifying lap, it's a firm A tier for Verstappen. George Russell, B-tier Mercedes looked off the pace all weekend, which is odd given their usual strength in cooler temps. Still, George pulled a monster lap out of nowhere in qualifying, dragging that car up to the second row with just a single run on fresh tyres. Pound for pound, it might have been one of the best laps of the session. But the race was more complicated. Russell got stuck in traffic early on, especially behind Gasly, and eventually went for a bold strategy shift, switching to slicks early. It was a gamble. It didn't pay off. He dropped back but still managed to score a point. Sometimes those risks work, sometimes they don't. For the quali heroics and a generally clean weekend, B tier feels fair for George. Yuki Tsunoda, D tier. After a nightmare in Austria, Yuki came into this weekend hoping for redemption. He qualified P12, but power issues on his final Q2 lap kept him from Q3, and his frustration in the media pen afterward said it all. You could tell how much it stung. In the race, though, it just unravelled. The car looked difficult, the conditions caught him out, and he never really settled into a rhythm. He finished dead last of the classified runners, and that's with 5 retirements. This isn't the Yuki we saw at the end of 2024 or earlier in the seasons. He's better than this, and it's clear the car isn't helping. I really want to give him a pass, but based on the criteria, this has to be a D tier. Hopefully someone gives him a proper seat soon, because this second car is ruining his reputation. Kimi Räikkönen. Making his debut in the race, Kimi faced a tough weekend right from the start. A 3-place grid penalty didn't help after qualifying P7, and lacking confidence during his runs meant he started the race down in P10. Sadly, his race was cut short after Mercedes' strategy missteps forced an early pit stop to slicks, just as the rain poured down, and then a heavy hit from Charles Leclerc damaged his diffuser, forcing retirement. Hard to give a full rating with such a short stint, but based on qualifying and those initial laps, he was just okay. A mixed bag with untapped potential, mostly undone by bad luck. Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. Aston Martin brought upgrades this weekend, and Fernando grabbed P9 in qualifying, making the most of the improvements. Lance Stroll initially qualified P18 but moved up to P17 after another driver's penalty. The race strategy was a masterclass for Lance, pitting perfectly under the VSC for soft tyres, then switching to intermediates right on cue. Fernando, however, suffered the opposite fate, forced onto slicks too early in 2 separate pit phases. Basically, Aston Martin used him as the test case for Lance's success. They finished close with Alonso P9 and Stroll P7, both solid but not spectacular. I'm slotting them both into B tier. Good execution from Lance, and Fernando's pace hampered by strategy. Alpine, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon. Alpine's weekend looked grim early on, with the car looking tricky to drive, but Pierre defied expectations, squeezing the car into Q3 and delivering a stunning race. Meanwhile, teammate Colton Sainz struggled, spinning in Q1 and ultimately not starting the race after a DNS due to technical problems, with his seat reportedly under threat. Gasly, on the other hand, stormed from P10 to P6, holding off fierce challenges and grabbing a valuable points haul. For maximising every ounce from a difficult package, Gasly absolutely belongs in S tier this weekend. Esteban Ocon had a rougher weekend, so I'm putting him down in D tier. Pressure's mounting and he'll need to bounce back strong. Haas, Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg. Kevin was mixed again, choosing to start on slicks but crashing out early. Hülkenberg, however, was sensational. Starting from P19, he jumped to P10 by the end of lap 1, then gained track position with a perfect pit call for fresh intermediates. From there, he managed his race beautifully, overtaking Stroll at just the right moment and fending off Hamilton's late charge to secure his first F1 podium. After 239 races and over 5,500 days, this was a long overdue, thoroughly deserved moment. The trophy might have been made of Lego, but the drive was pure gold. Kudos also to the strategists and Nico for keeping his composure. This one's an easy S tier for Hülkenberg. Kevin's weekend was less tidy, so I'm slotting him in D tier for now. Williams, Logan Sargent and Alex Albon. Logan shined this weekend, qualifying P8 while teammate Albon was down in P15. Logan did hit trouble, crashing under red flag conditions in FP3, earning a harsh 10-place grid penalty and 4 penalty points, now sitting just 1 behind Max Verstappen's total. On race day, they got tangled up in multiple collisions, including a synchronized spin that cost points. Despite the chaos, Logan was the only rookie to finish, a commendable effort. His pace was A-level, but mistakes bring him down to C tier. Albon also had a mixed race, finishing P13, same tier. Williams continued, Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz Jr. Carlos ended qualifying P11 but had a tough race, battling fiercely before contact with Sean on slicks caused damage. He drove decently and qualified well, so I'm slotting him in B tier. Albon's points haul was steady, so he earns an A tier here. That's a wrap on this wild and unpredictable race. Let me know your thoughts on the tiers. Agree, disagree, or got your own rankings? Drop them in the comments. If you like this quick turnaround format, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. See you at the next race.